I'm an old school Bruce Lee kind of guy. Squatting is bad for your body. Because I read it in a magazine, it has to be true that squatting is bad. What's up, guys? So we have a cool guest today. Dr. Jordan Shallow, powerlifter, bright guy. Right now, though, for everybody that's going to jump onto this bad boy, ask questions. Hi. Ask questions. Ask questions. You guys are going to get some great knowledge today. You guys are going to learn a lot today. If you guys didn't sign up for the meal plans, do that now. I will actually open notes. Here, come here. Say hi really quick to these knuckleheads.
Hi. Hi, friends.
So these are people going to be asking questions.
Oh, bring it on. Sweet.
Yeah. Hopefully some they're my fans, so they might not have the most intelligent questions.
Wow.
They're like me.
Can they hear you?
They can. Oh yeah, 100% they hear me.
Tough love.
Yeah, it's tough love. I'm ready. We're waiting for him.
We're ready.
You ready?
We're going.
Camera's on him.
We're live.
So it started on him then. So he's gonna do the whole intro and talk about. You ready? Just kind of say who you are and your background and anything and everything.
Yeah. So I'm Jordan Shallow. I'm a chiropractor, strength and conditioning coach, competitive powerlifter, podcaster person. Live on the internet now. I went to chiropractic college in California. Was a chiropractor at Apple's world headquarters in Cupertino. Transitioned into the strength and conditioning coach role for the rugby team at Stanford University. Owned 2 practices in the Bay Area. Started a fitness company centered around the education space about 2 years ago. And for the last 18 months, 20 months, I've been on the road teaching applied biomechanics, injury risk management, sport performance, sort of all over. So packed up in San Francisco.
One more time, those last 3.
What did I say?
Body mechanics. You're doing
applied biomechanics, injury risk management, sports performance. That's kind of.
I just want them to really hear that.
That's the jam.
Yeah.
So that's been it. Every weekend, a different city for the past about 2 years. The road, August. What would have been 2018, and just been traveling around ever since.
So I've known of you for a little while now, but I've known in person now a couple days here. And the one thing I can tell, and I've always been able to tell, is that you're a continuous learner. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
You study.
Have to.
Yeah.
Because I think now, like with the access to information, it's like, yeah, there's bad information, but really there's a lot of people on the cutting edge that are pushing the baseline. Like, I'm sure you've seen since you've started in this, like however many years ago, that like the base knowledge of like your standard gym goer has risen. Right? So if you're going to be an educator in the space, you need to be continuously upping your game, because the availability to better information, albeit harder to find, is there. So to be on the leading edge, you really need to be a forever student in this thing.
I agree with you. I appreciate that, because I know that a lot of old timers get stuck in their way. For me, I got the benefit of being the old timer, but also being with the nice new social media and influence now, and see both sides of the world. But you continue to learn, and I'm excited about your future. Just because you're a pup right now, you're 29, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And I cannot imagine the extreme knowledge you're going to have in another 10, 15, 20 years of just continuously doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is the more you know, the more you realize you don't know, right? Like that Dunning-Kruger effect. So for me, I'm less and less sure, but like on the research end, you become less and less sure because you read more. But you, as we talked about the other day, you become more confident on the experience end, because you've done this and you've seen so many cases and you've seen so many things that you start to not shy away from, but you can gain a better perspective of the pillars of evidence. Like a lot of people think research is evidence, and in my field, like research is a big driver, but like there are no squirrels in this room right now. We're not going to say that squirrels don't exist, and that's where people like just go the research route. That's the single lens they can look through, and then that myopic approach, and they don't have any experience of themselves or training clients. they become so certain in the one lens that they look through because they're blind to they don't know what they don't know. And that's often in the experience end. So as you kind of transition, you're like, okay, I really don't know much, because you realize how much there is to know. But on the flip side of that, you end up with so much experience that you can start to categorize those experiences. Think, oh, okay, I've seen this before.
Yeah. Now, we have a lot of mutual friends. Ben Tukolsky, who's a great guy. And again, someone that continuously studies and very knowledgeable, but continuously driving to learn more and more and more, which I love too. Here's the one big thing you were just kind of talking about. I want to see if we can help these guys out, all these guys that are watching this today. And you said something about research, and they get locked in on the research idea. If it says this in this magazine, that's it. There's no way around it. What can you kind of tell these guys about research relative to taking that research, applying it? I'm an old school Bruce Lee kind of guy. Martial arts was around for thousands of years. And then you have this one individual that was a kid at the time, comes in and goes, oh, no, this is all wrong. Let me show you a different approach. And then he combines everything and makes MMA. And it's been, again, thousands of years. So how did this one individual come in and say, no, the whole history is wrong? In a sense, let me show you a different style. How can you tell these guys that read this article, squatting is bad for your body? Okay, now I just read it. No, that's true then. Because I read it in a magazine, it has to be true that squatting is bad. So I'm going to skip that. When squatting is, like, for me, there's things that have kept me together. And squats is one of the exercises that have kept me healthy for my career. So how can you talk to these guys and tell them is there any kind of tricks that you come up with?
Well, yeah, it's about interpretation. Right? Like, you don't want to just read research. Like, I'll make a less than politically correct example to the Bible, and depending on where I'm presenting, I will or will not make this comparison. But like, you can read the Bible, and I think whether religious or not, like, there's archetypal stories in there that you can interpret and derive some benefit, regardless of your faith or denomination or whatever. And I think a lot of people who get a little too preachy on the research side are similar to people who might get a little too preachy on the religious side. That becomes their doctrine. But there's interpretations. Like, if you think someone lived in a whale, and then that's like, okay, that's a Disney movie. But you can interpret a benefit from that story, right? The Jonah and the whale, you can interpret that.
He was in a bad position, in a bad place, and so
and that's like Adam and Eve. Like, there's deeper meanings to be found if you want to look for it. It's the same thing with research, right? Like, a lot of people they just read research, and there's a story in the Old Testament God, if you've ever, and like, I'm not super religious, I'm just interested. So I've read the Bible a few times.
And how is Heath Evans not here today? We keep going.
Like, there's like a story in like the Old Testament about like a bald guy who gets insulted by a bunch of kids, and God sends 2 bears down to like kill 43 children. It's like, okay, maybe that didn't happen. But maybe that doesn't mean throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Like, there's a lot of meaning to be derived and interpreted from the Bible, again, regardless of denomination. Just like there's a lot of value in interpretation of research, but it has to be interpretation. There has to be a synthesization of what we'll deem to be facts. Like, I know the article you're talking about. The squats are bad for your knees. It was published in 1961 in the Journal of American Manual Therapeutics by a guy named Carl Klein. Right? I've read it, and I've read it in magazines over and over and over again. But if you actually take the time to download and find the full text from 61 and you read it, you can start to see confirmation biases laden within the actual research itself. Like, they were measuring valgus and varus forces. It was just pushing on people's knees after they squatted. And then they drove a false equivalency. More laxity through valgus and varus is bad for your knees. Like, that's who you're testing post-competition Olympic weightlifting. There's so much to the mechanics behind it. Like, and I think when we were training yesterday, it's like, if you can understand the anatomy, you can understand the basic principles, then you can start to extrapolate and interpret research better. Like, people, if that's the only thing they have, then they have to cling to it. Where it's like, if like, okay, there's research about like hip thrusting versus front squat, or hip thrusting versus squats for sprint speed. This is one that I'll use as a case study for my students. Like, read this article and tell me what's wrong with it. Well, the hip thrust moves the pelvis from posterior to anterior, and that's where pelvis moves when we're sprinting, right? show me a sprinter with a small ass. You can't do it, right?
You can't do it.
I will show you. Oh, you'll show me a very slow runner is what you'll show me. So it's like that's plain specificity. Now, in this research article, they use a front squat as an intervention. It's like, well, the front squat, if you front squat properly, there's likely minimal. If you throw your hips way back in a front squat, and you've ever front squatted before, then you'll know that that's a really disadvantageous position to be in. Like you're not going to, the bar's just going to roll off your shoulders. The whole point is to keep your pelvis underneath you and load your quads. So it's like, I give this to students, like, tell me what's wrong with it. Now I have to find a new research study because they're going to listen to this and know.
Comparing two completely different things.
Yeah,
right?
it's not even apples and oranges. It's apples to fish.
Yeah.
Right. And but someone who wrote that may have had a confirmation bias to prove that the hip thrust was beneficial against sprint speed. It's like, well, because if you know the plain specificity of the movement, you can pick another movement that's going to be totally irrelevant, and you can prove that this one is superlative to this one. So it's like, if you know the basic biomechanics, then the interpretation of the research becomes